Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Priscilla. Today's lesson is going to be on phrasal verbs. In this lesson, we're going to do several things. We're going to first talk about why phrasal verbs are important, then we'll have a story, and we'll think about the various usage of phrasal verbs in a story. I want to give credit to Kenneth Baer. I'll share that screen with you in the event you want to look at some of his lessons on grammar. The first thing that I want to talk about today is that phrasal verbs are very important, especially if you want to chunk information in English grammar. This is how we sound with fluency because we're putting several words together at one time to get the sentence to flow. So I want you to know that learning phrasal verbs can be a challenge. It is one that I believe that all of you are up to. And with these lessons, looking at the lesson, listening to the lesson, repeating the lesson again and again and again, you will become proficient at it. Keeping in mind that conversational English, as I often say, it is not a sprint. It is a marathon. So I want you to just dig in deep, focus, practice. You can practice maybe 5 or 10 minutes every day. And at the end of 30 days, you should be quite proficient with the use of at least these phrasal verbs that we're going to talk about today. The challenge will be there, but I do believe that you can meet the challenge. Keep in mind, however, as an English language learner, if you're trying to use the phrasal verbs with someone else whose first language isn't English or someone who doesn't understand English that well, they may have difficulty really following what you want them to know. This is a lesson designed for the intermediate English language learner or the upper intermediate language learner. However, because you have the advantage of listening to this lesson over and over and over again, it could be for a beginner as well. Listen to my voice, follow along with what you hear me say, and then just practice. What we're going to do next is listen to me tell you about a short story. In this short story, you will see lots of phrasal verbs. Try to understand how these phrasal verbs are used. Try to understand what these phrasal verbs mean. Not so much at this first time of listening, but by the third time that you're listening to this video, you would be able to understand the meaning. If it's necessary, please use a dictionary. You can use a handheld dictionary or one of the electronic dictionaries that you might find on the internet. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen with you and we'll start today's lesson. I want to invite each of you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'd like to invite you to join our Facebook group, follow me on Instagram, and always, please leave feedback on this video once you have watched it. I try to present and prepare lessons that will be beneficial to you. Again, I'm Dr. Priscilla, a native English speaker, and I live in the US. So I will start to share the lesson with you now. This lesson was created initially by Kenneth Baer on phrasal verbs. Just want to give that note that this lesson has been annotated, but the idea came from Kenneth Baer. This is an example of my day. I got up at 8 this morning. After eating breakfast, I sat down at my computer and put together the lesson for today. I made a few phone calls and went downstairs to do the laundry. So in this short synopsis, I have sat down and to do. Those are the phrasal verbs that I use to describe what I did this morning. Now let's take a look at our story. Adventures of growing up, or adventures growing up. The first word The first two words are growing up, and those are phrasal verbs. Now listen to the story. Try to understand the story as I read the story. If necessary, after the first reading, get a dictionary to help you better understand what all the highlights in yellow actually mean. When you schedule your class with me, hopefully you will know at least 3 or 4 of these phrasal verbs, and this is working your way toward English fluency. I was brought up in a small town in the countryside. Growing up in the countryside offered lots of advantages for young people. The only problem was that we often got into trouble as we made up stories that we acted out around town. I can remember one adventure in particular. One day, as we were coming back from school, we came up with the brilliant idea to make out that we were pirates looking for treasure. My best friend Tom said that he made out an enemy ship in the distance. We all ran for cover and picked up a number of rocks to use for ammunition against the ship as we got ready to put together our plan of action. We were ready to set off on our attack. We slowly went along the path until we were face to face with our enemy, the postman's truck. The postman was dropping off a package at Mrs. Brown's house. So we got into his truck. At that point, we really didn't have any idea about what we were going to do next. The radio was playing, so we turned down the volume to discuss what we would do next. Jack was all for switching on the motor and getting away with the stolen mail. Of course, we were just children, but the idea of actually making off with a truck was too much for us to believe. We all broke out in nervous laughter at the thought of us driving down the road in this stolen postal truck. Luckily for us, the postman came running towards us shouting, "What are you kids up to?" Of course, we all got out of that truck as quickly as we could and took off down the road. All right, so that is the story of adventures growing up. I can only imagine that you too, as a child, had adventures that may have gotten you into trouble. Perhaps nothing as serious as this, but to decide to take off in someone's truck or someone's vehicle or someone's car is a dangerous thing to do. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope that you will practice this YouTube phrasal verb lesson several times, at least one time per day. And if you do this for at least 1 week, several times a day, you will be amazed at how well your fluency is improving and your phrasal verbs. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. Priscilla, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.